welcome to the evening news. My name's Michaela McHugh.
And my name's Tori Kent.
We have been following the story of the Georgetown Mansion murders, and tonight we announce the arrest of the man who was responsible for the quadruple murder of the family that happened just about a week ago.
The man that was on the loose, Darren Wint, was found as the criminal responsible for these gruesome murders, and after 48 hours, we have finally caught him. He was followed by 25 to 30 cars, and Darren was found in a truck with other people following behind. The cops used a vehicle pin block maneuver, which basically means that the police took him on from all four sides, and it was the first time that this had ever been used against two vehicles, and they blocked him in so that he wasn't able to escape.
Air support was called to find the nearest and safest intersection to make the pin block maneuver. When the cops surrounded the cars, Darren Wint and all the other members in both cars surrendered. Large amounts of money were found in both cars.
We're not exactly sure what is going to happen next, but the trials will start soon with Darren Wint, and he will most likely be charged with very serious consequences. He will probably serve a life sentence for armed first-degree murder, if I had to guess.
Throughout the manhunt, Darren was seen in Brooklyn, New York, and also one of the victims' cars was found in a church parking lot in Maryland on fire for an unknown reason. But the most interesting part about all of this is the way Darren was convicted, because of a pizza crust.
Yeah. Apparently, while Wint was holding the family hostage, he ordered a pizza to snack on.
They later found the crust of the pizza in the house after he set the house on fire. They were able to retrieve the DNA from the saliva off the pizza crust. The most ironic part about it is that Wint most likely set the fire to get rid of all the evidence, yet the evidence was found on his snack.
I just don't understand how he could be eating a pizza while murdering an innocent family.
Yeah, it's really hard to believe that somebody could do this.
The entire story is just really upsetting to hear about, especially because nobody knows what the motive behind all these murders was.
It all started on Wednesday, May 13th, when Darren Wint entered the house, most likely from the back door, and he kicked the door open. When he entered the house, he tied up all the family members and housekeeper. The father, Savas Savopoulos, the mother, Amy Savopoulos, their 10-year-old son, Philip Savopoulos, and their housekeeper, Verlicia Figueroa, also known as Vera.
The three adults were bound to chairs in one room, and their 10-year-old son, Philip, was contained within his own room. After looking at the autopsy, doctors were able to conclude that the parents were most likely brutally beaten by baseball bats or they were strangled, and the boy was tortured with sharp objects in a separate room.
Now, they think Philip was put in a separate room so Darren could extract information or money or whatever he may have wanted from the parents in the other room. By torturing Philip, the parents heard him scream, and they would give Darren anything he wanted. They also later figured out that the fire was started in Philip's room.
It's hard to believe that only one person could have done all of these things by himself, especially because there were 4 people inside of the house and there was only one of him, supposedly. There had to have been more people involved that we just don't know about because it is physically impossible for him to contain 4 people when there's just him.
Exactly. There are many what-ifs involved in this murder case. For example, around 6 p.m. on that Wednesday, the other housekeeper got a call from Mr. Zavopoulos saying that she did not need to come into work because his wife Amy was sick. How would this story be different if she didn't get the call or didn't look at her phone and still went into work the next day?
Well, the police certainly would have gotten involved a lot earlier, and this whole mess may have been avoided. Around the same time, the husband of the housekeeper, Vera, realized that she had not returned home, and he started to call her continuously with no answer. The next morning, she had still not returned home, so the husband actually went to the mansion and knocked on the door again with no answer.
And that's when Mr. Savopoulos called him on the phone saying, "I'm so sorry, but Vera spent the night with us. I should have called you earlier, but I forgot."
That's very suspicious because while the husband was out the house, rather than answering the door, Mr. Zavopoulos just called him and told him everything was all right. I mean, to me, that would raise some major red flags because if they're claiming they're at home, why wouldn't they just answer the door?
Yeah, I agree. But unfortunately, the husband went home thinking everything was fine. And again, if he would have notified the authorities, this story could have been totally different.
Another person who was unaware of what was going on but was at the scene of the crime was the pizza man. At around 9 p.m., Domino's Pizza had received a call from Amy Savopoulos asking to deliver 2 pizzas.
But her instructions were very specific. She said, leave it on the front porch. I'm caring for a sick child. So don't ring the doorbell. Don't knock on the door. She also paid over the phone with a credit card. And later on, when the pizza man was questioned, he said it was really dark inside and the porch light was on. This most likely was so he couldn't see inside the house, but the light was outside.
You'd think somebody would find that suspicious, but I guess he just didn't think that much of it at the time. And that was the pizza that actually ended up giving away Darren Wint's identity, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was the only evidence on the scene that gave him away. The pizza would have burned like all the other evidence, but the firefighters responded fast enough for the pizza to not burn fully so they could still get DNA off the crust.
The last man on the scene of the crime was Wallace, Mr. Zavopoulos' assistant. Wallace claimed originally that he had received a message from his boss on Thursday morning asking to drop off $40,000 to the house without any questions asked. However, after the police searched through his phone, they realized that he had been in communication with Savopoulos about the money on Wednesday night.
And he also lied and said he dropped the money off in an envelope, but later changed his story and said he dropped it off in a red bag. Now, why does Wallace keep changing his story?
Wallace also said that originally he had found the car keys and he then unlocked the car to place the money inside. But then after the police questioned him more, he said that the car was already unlocked and he just placed the money right in. So if he's not guilty, why would he be making up these minor lies? It just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, if he's telling all these lies, then maybe he was involved. And that's what people are starting to believe. And personally, it's becoming very convincing.
Maybe his assistant had something against him. I mean, it clearly seems like he's trying to hide something. But, I mean, we don't even know what the real reason why Darren Wint even murdered the family is still. So there's just a lot of unanswered questions.
Authorities are thinking this was all just for the ransom money. But the Savapouloses are so wealthy, why would Darren only ask for $40,000?
Exactly. He could have asked for $40 million if he really wanted to, if he was just in it for the money. But I definitely think there's more to it than meets the eye.
Exactly. Now, Darren did work at Mr. Savopoulos' company for 2 years, but then stopped working there for an unknown reason. Is it possible that he's just a very angry ex-employee?
Yes, that definitely is very possible. And a lot of people do believe that, but why did he wait so many years to act on his anger? I think his past history with Mr. Zavopoulos' company can rule out the possibility that he was just hired to kill.
Yes, I definitely think there's a connection between the two men, but if the theory that he was hired to kill is true, then the man who hired him to kill Mr. Savopoulos definitely did his homework and made sure that they had a connection between them.
It seems like Darren Wint himself has an extremely violent past. He worked at Mr. Zavopoulos' company for 2 years at American Iron Works, but then he mysteriously quit and nobody knows why.
Yeah, and after this, things started to just go downhill. His own father, Dennis Wint, said he was scared to live with his son, and that his son threatened to shoot him while he was living at home in his 30s.
One of his relatives even commented, saying, "He's very hostile. He's arrogant. Everywhere he went, he fought with people. He fights with his father, with his brother, everybody."
Wint had an extensive criminal record before he committed the Georgetown Mansion murders. One particular man, Michael Babcock, recently spoke out because he was almost murdered by Wint. He was attacked by Wint on 2 different occasions with knives.
The first time that they encountered one another was when Wint and Babcock were both at Babcock's cousin's house. Babcock had asked Wint to leave because he was causing a disturbance to the family, and they couldn't get him to leave. So they went outside of the house, and as they were about to get him to leave, Wint attacked both of them with a knife and cut their wrists and other body parts. Babcock described the entire event, saying, "Darren had come out and was windmilling with the knives. He stabbed me in the wrist, and then he took off," said Babcock. "There were slices on my shirt and on my chest and my stomach where I didn't even know he had cut me. I thought he just had stabbed me in my wrist, but I guess he was trying to stab me other times."
Wint was charged with third-degree assault and was ordered to stay away from Babcock. 6 months later, he attacked Babcock as he was walking on a bridge with his girlfriend. Wint stabbed Babcock in the neck, and he had to be rushed to the hospital. Babcock almost died, and he said, quote, "He would be tried for my murder if it wasn't for me surviving it," end quote.
Wint was convicted of third-degree assault, but spent only 89 days in jail for both of these attacks on Babcock. But his criminal records definitely do not end there.
No, not at all. His rap sheet is actually very long. After he was released from serving his time for attacking Babcock, he stabbed another man. He was charged and had to serve 10 more months in jail.
After he served those 10 months, he returned to Maryland and was arrested again for assault against his one girlfriend. In a report after the incident, Wint's girlfriend revealed that he had choked, slapped, and punched her, but he only received a 30-day sentence for these assaults.
He started dating another girl after he was released and threatened to kill her, her daughter, and her daughter's friends, saying he was good with knives. Yet, he only got charged for breaking the window of her car.
The final thing that Wint did, 5 years prior to the recent quadruple murder that has just happened, was when he was found outside the American Ironworks with a machete, gun, and an open can of beer. He was only fined $919 because he pleaded guilty for having the open 24-ounce can of Coors Light beer.
After this incident, Darren Wint did not commit any crimes until this recent act of injustice.
It is so unfortunate that the Savopoulos family had to endure the worst crime that Darren Wint ever committed.
It really is, especially because the Savapouloses were so charitable to the community, and they maintained such a strong family relationship for such a long time.
Savas and Aimee Savopoulos actually met while they were in high school, and they both attended the University of Maryland together. They had a large Greek Orthodox wedding, and anybody that saw them said that they were the happiest couple, and they were so joyful whenever they were with others.
They had 3 kids, Abigail, 19, and Katerina, 16, who were both at boarding school at the time of the fire, and Philip, 10, who was one of the family members murdered.
Their father, Savas Savopoulos, was a very successful CEO of the American Ironworks Company. His company was involved in providing iron for projects like the restoration of the Pentagon after 9/11 and the new convention center.
The Savapouloses were a very wealthy family. They lived in a very safe and established neighborhood. Their house was $2 million, and they bought it back in 2001. It included a library, a music room, and was blocked off by gates.
The Savapouloses were also included in the Washington Green Book, which is basically a directory for all of Washington's elite.
They owned a private jet and a 44-foot yacht. One year, while the girls, Abigail and Katerina, were at boarding school, Aimee, Savas, and Philip all decided to go live in the Caribbean for a year, while Philip attended school there.
Not only were they extremely wealthy, but they were also an extremely generous family. They donated, I think it was about $100,000 to the National Cathedral School, which is where both of the daughters attended high school.
Not only did they donate large amounts like this, but they also donated their time. For example, Aimee Savopoulos every year would bring in gingerbread houses for each kid in her children's classrooms. Then she would go and help the kids put them together.
Savas Savopoulos was also very skilled in the art of kinjitsu, which is the ancient form of knife fighting. He actually was planning on opening his own dojo or martial arts center this week.
Their son Philip traveled across the country go-karting with his own sponsor and his very own go-kart. While go-karting, the family met Jordan Wallace, Mr. Savopoulos' assistant. All of this happened years before the disaster.
The Savopoulos' two daughters were at an elite boarding school when all of this tragedy occurred.
Right now, Katerina is 16 years old and Abigail is 19 years old. Immediately after they received word of what happened, they posted on social media.
Katerina posted a picture with her brother Philip saying, quote, "Would do anything to see that smile again. Love and miss you," end quote.
She also posted a picture with her dad, Savas, holding her as a kid, saying, "You will always be my hero and my role model, and I will always love you and miss you so much. Thank you for teaching me courage, loyalty, and how to believe in myself. Love you to the moon and back, Baba." End quote.
Lastly, Katerina posted a young picture of herself with her mother saying, quote, "In a while, crocodile," end quote, and, quote, "Thank you for being the best mom I could have ever asked for. I love you, Mommy, and will miss you every day," end quote. God, this whole thing is just terrible to think about. It's awful.
I know. Like, could you imagine being those girls? They're now orphaned, and it's just all of a sudden.
I know, and if you think about it, there are these 16 and 19-year-old girls that are now without father or mother, and they don't have a brother anymore. They have nobody, and I mean, like, we're 17-year-old girls. We know how dependent you are on your family at this young age, and they have to go through now college and the rest of their life without their family. It's just tough.
Yeah, it's awful. And I think one of the worst parts about it is they don't know why. He's not giving an answer. Like, is it something they did? Is it something that happened in the past? Or is he just acting out on anger and did he just want the money?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't all add up.
I know. I think if I were them, I definitely want to have all the answers. And if there were other people involved too, like, we only know Darren Wint as of now, and he still hasn't spoken up. We still have the trials coming up, and we don't know what's going to happen there. But there could have been other people involved. I mean, I personally think that the assistant Wallace is involved somehow. He has some questionable things going on there. But if I were them, I would want to know the full story and why this happened. This horrible thing happened to them.
And another scary thing is, are they in danger? Like, since we don't know the answer of why this is happening, could they be in danger too? Since it could possibly be some sort of revenge, and you think there's more people involved, are their lives in danger? And that's something to take very seriously.
I know. And the other part that really gets me is the fact that they lived in this well-respected neighborhood. I mean, Joe Biden literally lives right down the street from them, and this happened. I mean, it can really happen to anybody. You always hear stories about it happening in the city and run down places, but this was a high up society area, and it happened to them, and it could happen to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes you warned almost to be careful, because if it can happen to somebody who lives in one of the nicest neighborhoods in the nation, it could happen absolutely anywhere. And that's when we come into play, and all the people of America come into play, because we all need to watch out and be careful, because if things like these are happening there, what could be happening near us?
Exactly. I just really hope for these girls' sakes that they figure out what the motive was behind these murders and they find other people that were involved, because I do truly believe that other people were involved.